opportunity to ask you a few questions about your culture.
Thank you for having me.
Can you first begin by telling us a little bit about yourself?
So I've only been in education for 15 years, but I started as an adjunct instructor, and then I began being a full-time instructor and then a program director. Then I moved to a program dean, associate dean, then I ran 2 campuses, and now I'm here at Concord. Personally, I'm one of 2 siblings, and I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I have 2 children. I have a son who is getting ready to graduate from college, and I have a 12-year-old daughter that keep me very busy. And I've been at Concord for 5 months, and it's been a great 5 months.
We're lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Culture is defined as the conscious and unconscious content that a group learns, shares, and transmits from generation to generation that organizes life and helps interpret existence. From what cultures do you define yourself as?
I'm African American. Culture was really defined by the norms of the things that we did, such as family dinners. My mom cooked, dinner every Sunday for the family. Education was important in our family, hence why I have a doctorate degree, because I wanted to be that example in my family. I was the first person in my family to go to college. Education was really important to my parents because they didn't get a chance to extend their education beyond high school. Really just traditional, but nothing different than probably any other culture. Many of our activities really centered around family and around food.
Do you have a preference as being referred to as African American or Black American?
It doesn't matter to me.
Do you feel that African Americans as a comprehensive group also share those beliefs and values? And then as far as like religion?
Yes, I would say absolutely. When I met my children's father, he's in a really big family, and I actually was kind of overwhelmed. I come from a small family, and so as they take turns on who would go to Christmas, who would host Christmas dinner, or who would host Thanksgiving dinner, and everything was really centered around that get together, right? And you break bread with one another. It's the same thing in my best friend's family, the same thing in my friend's family. That we really believe in family values and really trying to spread those values, to the next generation, right? So I don't think it's much different. I really don't. Yeah. And then religion, absolutely. Religion is a huge piece. I'm a faith-based person, and everything that I do is based on my faith, and the way I lead this campus and any work that I do is really based upon my faith and the belief that you treat people well, and you start there.
Do you feel that there are historical experiences that dental health care providers should be aware of in relation to the African American community?
A fear of going to the doctor and dental work. When I was a kid, I don't recall my parents taking me to the dentist regularly. And my brother had low self-esteem as a result, but he told me it was a self-esteem issue. And I noticed that with a lot of my friends. And I don't know if it was from a socioeconomic piece that maybe African American families didn't take their children to the dentist maybe more regularly or not. I just don't recall having a lot of positive experiences with dentistry. I tried to really change that with my children.
You mentioned fear previously. Where do you think that fear stems from?
I think it's just from the unknown. My parents grew up in poverty, and so just the fear of what you don't know, because if you weren't exposed yourself, you don't know what you're
Going in.
you don't know what to expect.
Okay, so you think that fear kind of stems from the socioeconomic status?
I do.
Okay.
I do, and I feel that it translated over. My parents were middle class, but those things didn't go away.
Right.
Yeah, and my mother actually wore dentures. She had all her teeth pulled by the time she was 19.
Wow.
She was a baby of 7. They erased her, and so they didn't take her to the dentist.
Can you next discuss any stereotypes or barriers that may affect the way that African Americans seek medical and dental care?
I don't think so. I've been fortunate to have some great dental care providers, my dentist and hygienist. I still have the fear. I have to be honest there. And I don't probably go like I need to go. And it stems from that. But I don't think there's any stereotypes. I've been very fortunate to have people that care well for me. and well for my children. I just think it's a matter of, again, just making sure that you go, you stay up on it, and you don't let those fears keep you from doing so.
You know, you said you didn't go as much as you should.
Mhm.
We're right there.
I know.
We'll take good care of
I
you.
know, right?
I know.
I believe you ladies will. Just working up the courage.
Is there anything that we could break down, though, of stereotypes that you've heard of or barriers that you've heard of that we can adjust and break down those barriers for?
You know, I really don't see barriers. I think about a couple of my friends who have not taken good care of their teeth. And I wonder, because you know the teeth is the root to everything, right? And so without good dental health, right, it affects your overall health. And I wonder if there's just an opportunity to do more education or more training, provide more knowledge in the African American community as it relates to helping people understand how important it is. Because I don't think people made that connection. And again, having the fear, right? You're not going to do the research, right? You're not going to ask the questions because you have the fear. So maybe some more education and training, starting at a young age, you know, to help African American individuals actually understand that it's not anything to be fearful of, and that if you don't take care of your mouth, you know, your overall health is really impacted by that.
And with that education, would you think it would be most beneficial to maybe a low socioeconomic status, especially because I know that you said the fear kind of correlates with that?
Well, I know that happened with my parents. When they became middle class, you know, I don't know that so much it was just the fear of, like I said, but just not doing it themselves, so they didn't do it with their children.
Right.
So I would say all communities. I believe that, and I don't believe it's just for even African Americans. I think all communities. But specifically, I think the earlier you start that education, the better, because knowledge really is power if you understand.
I'll ask you though too, I know that we talked about the dental providers, but do you feel like there's anything in medical in general, any barriers or stereotypes or historical experiences in just the medical field as a whole?
You know, so I'm very fortunate. I have, you know, friends and family in my background that are in the medical field, and I often talk to them about, you know, what their experiences look like. But I think when someone is a healthcare provider, you know, they take the oath to care.
Yeah.
And so I don't see it. I don't.
That's awesome.
And so so I don't see it. So the good news is I think, you know, people in general love other people, you know, but you know, you're gonna always have someone that, you know, it may be difficult and give you some challenges, but I think if you can really get to the root and understand that person, and you get a chance to do that when you're in the dental office, to get to talk to your your patients and build a rapport, and it's a good thing, because my hygienist, she did that with me. So I think you all have a unique opportunity to be able to break down anything that you might see with your patient, especially someone maybe that might be African American, and you're thinking, well, how do I approach them, or do I approach them differently? I just say treat people as people, right? And you all won't have any issue there.
And from a patient perspective, what is the best way for us as dental health care providers to build that rapport, in your opinion?
You know what? Ask questions. You know, I think for me, people often are intimidated because they think, oh, you have a doctorate degree, like, you know, how's the conversation going to be? But people are people, and I think you show your human side. Maybe you can talk about any fears that you may have had. That helps a patient understand that you've been there. You all have great teeth, so that they can see that you've had to go through it too, right, to get to that point. So I think anytime you can relate to them, tell them a story. I'm a big storyteller, so I like to talk about my experiences from a story perspective, because I think everybody can relate to stories. So if you can share stories, personal experiences, talk about your own journey, I think those are all things that will help your patients feel more comfortable and really have trust in you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give me a hug, ladies!
Dr. West's culture relates a lot to the book, especially with the religion and family factor, because Dr. West talked a lot about how important religion is to her, as well as being very family oriented.
According to Jerry Diller, religion is an extremely important factor in the life of an African American community and provides a valuable source of social connection. Although this is how Dr. West's culture is, this doesn't mean that all African Americans experience the same things in culture as well as religion.
Based on our interview with Dr. West, our takeaway for cultural competence is to treat every patient as just that, a patient, regardless of color, religion, or gender. We are very happy to hear that Dr. West hasn't experienced any biases or stereotypes within her dental care, and we plan to continue practicing without stereotypes or biases in ours as well.
I'm not ready because I'm gonna laugh in a second. Hold on.
Get it out.
Oh. Go.
Based on our interview,
African American community.
Yeah, because her